How's it? Welcome to this video. We'll be looking at managing GitHub secrets using Terraform. The demo builds off a previous demo that I would have done in the previous video, where we basically built some very basic infrastructure inside Azure. That demo code can be found at building basic Azure infrastructure using Terraform repo in my DevStarOps org, as well as the video and blog post is linked below if you do want to go take a look at that. A short, brief version of what we've created so far, shown on screen at the moment. So we've got a storage account, managed identity, we've got network security group, the NIC that's attached to our VM, the disk for that, as well as a public IP address. For this video, we're going to look at as mentioned, managing GitHub secrets. So for that, we're going to look at the GitHub provider. Using that, we're going to create environments inside of a repo. Inside those environments, we're going to create environment secrets, and then we'll be connecting to storage from Actions. In this instance, we'll be using a key from storage, and then after we see how that's done, we're going to remove that connection string and rather look at using a federated identity as an alternative to storing those secrets inside your GitHub environment variables or environment secrets. If you want, you can skip along. I should chapter out the timeline to all these different sections. So if you do need to skip ahead to say the federated identity stuff, you can do that. Otherwise, buckle in. Cool. So as I mentioned, this was first built off the previous demo. I've cloned that and started this new repo. So if you do want to get the code for this, you can go to the Managing GitHub Secrets using Terraform repo, and again the video and blog post will be linked at the bottom. The fact that you're obviously watching this video at the moment, you already know where that is, so you can just pop over here if you do want that code. If we dive into the actual code, I'm not going to go through the details of what exists already. As I mentioned, you can get that from the previous one if you want. I'm just going to go through and start making the changes that we need to start using managing those GitHub secrets. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to reference the GitHub provider. So just reference the provider. We tell it that we're going to pass it in a token, which is going to come from our variables. In this case, the owner as the organization that we want to target. If you are working off repos from your own personal account, you don't need to specify the owner. In this case, because we're targeting an organization, we need that owner specified. And then we're also going to have a data source reference here for a GitHub user, which we're just going to call current, and that's going to reference my user. And you'll see we'll use that just now. And then because we have made reference now to a GitHub token variable, we want to go ahead to our variables and just add a sensitive variable for that GitHub token. And if you had followed along in the previous video, you would have seen that we have this local environments as part of how I currently set stuff up. So we're going to go and create a new environment variable for that GitHub token, and then obviously we need to go and generate that. So we're going to head over to a profile. We're going to go to settings, developer settings, personal access token, and we're going to generate a new token. We're going to call this demo 2, see the scope for 7 days, and we want to give it full repo access. I'm going to generate that token, copy the token, head back here, and just set that. So instead of rerunning this whole thing and redoing the auth, I'm just going to set that token inside my console. Okay, next up we want to create a a file for our GitHub repo that we'll be linking to. So if we go to this GH repo that I've just created, what we're going to do is we're going to add a data source to a repo, which is this same repo that I mentioned that the code is sitting in. If we wanted to create the repo, we could create it as a resource. In my instance, that repo already exists, so we'll just reference it as the data source. We don't have any existing environments for this repo, so we're going to create them as new resources. So we're going to create the current environment name. The repo is going to reference that repo above. And then we're going to say for the reviewers, if the environment name is production, then we're going to set the reviewer to myself. Otherwise, we're going to have no reviewers. And then the secret that we're going to push there is a new secret called storage connection. So its actual secret name will be storage connection, and then the value for that is going to come from our storage account that we've previously created in this file. So there's storage account main, and if we go back to this GitHub repo, you can see we're referencing storage account main, and we're grabbing the primary connection string from that. Okay, the next thing we want to do is create a publish YAML, and that's basically just going to be for our pipeline to existent. So if I go new file, publish YAML, it's going to pop up there. We're going to copy that in here. So what this publish YAML for now is going to do is we're going to set up a matrix for a local environment, a test environment, and a production environment. That matrix is only going to run the Azure blob storage upload, or Azure storage blob upload, and we're going to upload just the README file for now to that storage account for the current environment. So fairly simple. And then because we are going to want other environments as well, I'm going to go ahead and get those environment files added in. So this is what our standard variables look like. And then for test and production, all that's changing is our environment name. The rest of the variables are all staying the same. The backends are all the same, except our key changes to be test TF state, and then production is production TF state. And then lastly, the change that we're going to need to make is from our publish YAML. You might have noticed that the container name says demo. So if we go to our storage file, we need to go ahead and create a new container called demo. This should be all that we need to do from our scripts folder. So the scripts folder is currently, or the current working directory is set to the scripts folder here. So we are currently running the init.bat, and that init.bat is just looking at the local TFRs and the local backend. So the reason we needed to run this was because we added GitHub stuff now, so it needed to pull those in. Next up, we're going to run the plan. And the plan very similarly references those local vars, outputs a plan file, and then that plan file is what we're going to use in the apply as well. Okay, so now that the plan's done, you can see it's going to go and create that demo container. It's going to create a storage connection secret, and it's going to go and create the local environment itself, which is what we planned to do. So we're going to run apply now, and that should go and apply that to our environment without any issues. Okay, so you can see that went and added 3 resources. which is what we were expecting. If we go over to GitHub, we can go and verify this. So if we go over to settings, we go to environment, see we've got this local environment that's got one secret in it, which is called storage connection. Now, obviously, in our example, we are going to be targeting local test and production. So I have this file that will do the init plan and apply for both the test environment and the production environment. So I'm going to go ahead and just run that quickly. Okay, so now that those are all created, I thought I'll just show you my two of my other repos quickly. So normally you probably wouldn't have this running in this exact same way. In your case, I mean, you'd normally want to put this behind a pipeline and not just all run it from like a dev machine or an IT person's machine. What I do have in this instance is sort of a hybrid of that. So I have this repo which I've called an infrastructure elevated, and what makes this elevated is that when it runs, one, it needs the GitHub token, and that's a GitHub token that's able to manage repos like we've got at the moment, but also it can access packages, and the packages is more for how it gets used in this exact app scenario. But it also has access to Cloudflare API keys, which it does end up passing down the line, as well as the context in which it runs is it runs fully as myself in the subscription. And the reason for that is because of the resources that it ends up creating. So in this instance, this repo creates the resource groups. It also creates the identities, and when the app runs in sort of the app deploy context, so when this goes and spins up this specific app, the ARM config that's passed in here is for a service account. So if we look at this, now I don't know why it's not loading, let's just refresh quickly. Yeah, that's how that works. So when this is created, so this repo owns the resources for each of the different resource groups. It also goes ahead and creates for when I'm running locally, when I'm running in test, and when I'm running in prod, it creates a resource group and then does all the federated identities and service principals and everything else that this repo ends up running in the context of. As part of its configuration, the resource group is, or this user is given, so this is the one I was actually looking for. This user that gets created gets given owner permissions specifically on that resource group. So where we're currently running this app and we are creating a resource group, you wouldn't be able to do that with the service account. That would be that you would want to be scoped for only that resource group, so that every stage ends up running in the context of only its resource group, and it can't access the other stuff outside of that. So there's a little bit of a off tangent, well, on a tangent, but you can go look up those repos and see the details of that. But more specifically saying here is that you would probably want to split this out if you have a similar scenario to me, where in this instance there is a workflow that runs that that goes and deploys each of those. So you can see here's my deploy to test, which ends up calling this action. And then there's the deploy to production, which ends up calling the same action, but that will do like deploy the test and the production infrastructure. But it doesn't, it's not created in the same way. Like I don't have this magic file or magic that will run both, because in some ways that defeats the point of what we're trying to do here with a more mature pipeline. If we go here now and refresh our environments though, because we've done that full create, you can see we now have the test and the production environment. And the production environment says there's one protection rule, and you can see that it's saying that my account has to approve in order for us to get anything through to this environment. Okay, so what we're going to do next is commit this code and take it for a spin, see how it works. Cool, so we go here and we're just going to say add a demo code, double check that this is, it's not currently, we want that to trigger for main and for demo. So we're going to save that and commit. Publish that branch. We go out to, yeah, we take a look at our action. Let's see if this works. So straight away off the bat, you can see that our production environment does need to review it. So we can go ahead and say for that production environment, let's approve and deploy. The way I'm running this at the moment is everything runs in parallel. You would probably want to set this up so that it doesn't run the same way. For what I'm specifically doing, it doesn't make much of a difference because I'm just saying copy a file out. But for normal purposes, it'll probably make a difference because you'd want to do stuff to a local environment, test that, or in my case, my local environment is actually running on my machine, but I'll still need this file to be copied out. You'd then want to run stuff on a test environment, check that things work through your pipeline, what your pipeline's done, and then after that you'd want to only allow it to run for production. In this case, like I said, I've just let it do all of them. If I go and look at the upload file, we should be able to see here that it's actually uploaded a file. Do we see that? It says that it's done some work. Let's go see if it did actually do some work. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to our storage account. Go to our containers. There's that demo container. And there's our README. But now also remember we ran this this create on the side. So if we go to our resource groups, we've also got this demo 2 and demo 2 test, demo 2 production. If you go look at the production one, the same resources that we had for local, and just to doubly check because this was right at the end, we'll look at containers, look at demo, and we can see there's our README that had been created for us. So now that that's done, we want to go and look at, instead of doing this, because one thing that will happen here, or that will fail, is if we go and look at if we go to our container now, our storage accounts, and say we need to rotate these keys. So something's happened that's made this key need to change for application. and then a next deployment comes along. So we go and say, well, we simulate that by saying run all the jobs. We say approve this. If we let that run, this should fail our production deploy now. And the reason for that is, if you remember back from our code, for our GitHub repo, we've said that we want to grab the primary connection string, but now we've just cycled that primary connection string. There, as we expected, that failed now because something happened in the application. We had to recycle that key, and that failed. Now, yes, we could go and kick off our infrastructure pipeline again. That will go and grab the current connection string, re-updates it, and everything would be great. But a better approach to doing this is to rather look at using the federated identity. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and replace the storage connection secret with ARM client, ARM tenant ID, and ARM subscription ID. Each of these are not actually secrets themselves. They're just standard could be standard plain text variables. So we're going to go ahead and create all of these. Notice that we don't have a client secret here. So normally when you would look at doing something like this, you would have a client secret. So for Terraform specifically, if you do want to, well, when you do run your Terraform through actions, you'll need that client secret for the identity. So because it doesn't currently, from my current knowledge, it doesn't know how to use the federated identities. So the next thing you want to do, so that's only part of the work. The other bit that you need to do is go to your identity itself, and then you want to say that you want to create a federated identity. We'll just call that GH. Its display name, we're going to call it GH demo to our environment name, and then pushing secrets using Terraform. That name has since changed, so we're going to go to make everything feel right. We're going to go change that name. Did I have that as small letters? I did. So let's go, well, not small letters, but dashed letters. There we go. So this is going to go ahead and say that if we get a request, or if something tries to get a token, and the repo is inside dev.ops.org/managing GitHub secrets using Terraform, and the environment is whatever the specific environment is. So for local, it's going to attach the, it's going to, for the local environment when it runs, it's going to run as demo to environment name app. So if we go look back, yeah, in the production one, for example, this is going to be running as well, actually it's not there, it's from here. So you go to Azure Active Directory, and we go and search for app registrations, and then under app registrations we look for, sorry, all apps, and we look for demo 2, and we go to production. This is actually that identity. So you see at the moment there's no client secrets, there's also no federated credentials. So when we're done, this will get created, and basically when this repo for that environment does try and request a token, it's going to be authorizing itself as this identity inside GitHub. So we'll go ahead and clear this out. Let's do a plan. while that plan's running, just to make sure that things did work as expected, we'll open up the local user or identity, because we're going to just check from this one that it works before we run the test and production, because you shouldn't always test in production. That's bad. Ah, I see what I've done here. And luckily I did do that. So I haven't added reconfigure to my normal init. So let's do that. Let's re-init again. Should probably add that to the end of the script now that I think about it. So let's do that. Let's replan this. So if we go add to to run that. I actually don't want that on the specific file. Cool, so now when we do run this whole thing, at the end of it, it's going to do it in its again based off our local settings, my local backend it was, so that we can just carry on running plans and applies. Okay, so you can see the changes that it says it's going to make. It's going to go create that federated identity credential for us. It's going to go and add our 3 new environment secrets, and it's going to destroy the existing environment secret that we previously had. Okay, so that says it's finished. Let's just verify that. So if we go and just refresh this, we can see that that has been created for us. If we do click into that credential, you can see that the organization maps properly, the repo maps properly, the entity type that we're using is environments. You can link up to branch PR in that as well. And we specifically matching local. And then if we go to our repo and we look at environments, you can see that this local environment now has 3 secrets, which are the same secrets that we added. And now that that all works, we could go ahead and say run not local, and that will go through and run everything that we have for test and production. And once that's all done, I will push this commit. So changes to use federated identity. Cool. So yeah, once that's done, we'll push this through. That will do our copy again, and I suppose actually just to reassure us in some ways that this does work, let's copy in this file. That it does work, as in that it's not just not erroring, it's actually doing something. So we're going to copy in that vmsh. So rather copy vmsh, and hopefully that is not going to break my demo. Okay, so now that that's done, we can go ahead and push these changes, which should trigger our action to run again. And we'll go look at our actions. So again, to wait for production. Let's just approve the production. I think this falls under the case of, hey, it looks like I broke my script by changing a dodgy thing. So is this because of the specific file I chose? Oh wait, it's not because of that. I forgot to make a change. So in my publish, before we were just uploading the blob, and we had specified the connection string, and we're going to be brave and change the demo. So it's the same way again. In this instance, we're saying upload, same container name or account name, same file name, same container, file, we want that file to that name. Hey, so previously we actually would have thought that it didn't work because I didn't take the input file and the right file. But what we're doing here is we're saying we want to log in using this client ID 10 ID and subscription ID, which will obviously go to the Azure side, do the login, and based off these and the fact that it's coming from this repo and the specific environment, it'll use that information to have specific access to each environment. So we could, as an example, let's just go and say that it needs to always try and write to local as a next step. So what we would expect here is that everything reads, and this one we'll just say dash local. So for the local environment, we expect this to work because its identity has access to this account. For test, we're expecting it to fail. So this step should work because it has access to its own, and the second step should fail. Again, changing my demo on the fly, probably not the best idea. Updated workflow. So we'll sync that change. That should trigger another action to run, or our workflow to run. Do I push that? Yes. Or we're ignoring that. This one I didn't tell it that we should also run for demos. For demo. Demo to triggers. Okay, now that that's gone up, that should trigger now as expected. So there's that one. We're going to approve production. And now, holistically, we're expecting local to work completely. So there should be green. Both of these should fail. But I forgot to add write permissions to ID token. Okay, so for that, we just need to go and grab. I love the error messages as well that come out of GitHub. They're very, very specific to this is what the problem is. So you can see it says that we need to give permissions to ID token for this workflow. That's because I've set my permissions in general to read only. So ID token rights. Let's just put that as the message. So that should again trigger. So ID token rights. We're going to approve that production. You can see there it is. It's found that there is federated token details. So the login's complete. First upload runs. And that actually didn't work. The operation was cancelled. Oh wait, weirdly that does actually make sense, because so if you look at this one, this is erroring. So when this errored, everything else ends up stopping. So if we look here as part of our job, we say continue error false. So this one got through its first upload. So it did that one upload, and if we had to go look at the storage account for it, so there is demo2 test, and we look at the container, we look at demo, we should have both of those. Now for our local, we look at the container and demo. We've only got readme at the moment. And that's because as soon as the other one failed, this died. So if we go rerun each of these in isolation, again, when you're doing this for reals, this will run sequentially. So it should just work. We don't want to rerun everything. Is that the only option we have? I want to run the failed jobs. No. Okay, so we're not going to be able to run this just for this individual part of the matrix. But hopefully from this you could see, well, from the output of what this one is doing, you could trust me that that would work that way. For us to go and fix this, let's make this not double right. Not double right. And through us making this not double right, we will hopefully get everything being green again. So we're going to look at this. Proof production. So now they're all only going to write to the account that they have access to, which means that the test one's not going to fail first before the others get to run, and then they should all work properly. So you can see that the upload is now running. The other one's also running still. And that should mean now if we go and refresh this when it's finished, we'll have another file there. So that upload file is done. It's all green. Production should be finishing off as well shortly. So if we open this up, you can see that it's using production environment. So that's all green. If we go and refresh this now, there's VM-sh. And if we go look at the production storage, which also had previously cancelled, that is the wrong production storage. There's real production of a different app. So we go, that's test, that's also unhelpful. So demo to production would help if I was able to read today. We're going to demo, and there's our second file. Cool. So I mentioned the source code for this is available at the Managing GitHub Secrets using Terraform repo. I hope you found this useful. Maybe ping me if you've got any suggestions on how I could potentially make this better in the future, or if you have any ideas of how you're going to maybe change your infrastructure to use this, give me a shout. Yeah, cheers.